It was developed by a mom and a sister, a mom and a daughter, excuse me, a mom and a daughter with no psychological training. They were basically interested in personality assessment, and they focused on Jung's theory, Carl Jung's theory. And for them the main aim was just to focus on personality and to see how we can use personality in everyday life. So don't think that because they weren't trained psychologically that there is no validity in it. All their research was back then with 50 years of other research on what they found. So it's really a valid and a reliable tool with a lot of research behind it. What it does, it delivers reliable insights that can be used in a lot of contexts. And that's what makes the MBTI so amazing, is it can really be used in more than just one context. It's not just a psychometric assessment that you use for development, it can be used in so many other contexts as well. It almost creates like a common language between professionals. When you are in a coaching situation with a client and you have assessed the person, you are aware of his 4-letter type, then it creates that common language of how to explain how this person is making decisions, how he's taking information in, etc., etc. So, you know, on a professional level, it helps to understand the person's personality as well. Also, the nature helps retain top talent, develops leadership, and on every level, and reduces conflict. And I think that's where you are also more interested in the coaching part. How do you use the MBTI in a coaching situation context? When you're working with an organization, how do you have that workshop with the organization and try to see where does the conflict come from? How do we resolve it? So I think that context is especially applicable to you. It is an indicator, not a test. In the world of psychometry, people always just think it's all about tests. And people are afraid of tests. If I were to ask you to take any assessment now, whether it's an indicator or a test, people do have a bit of anxiety. But it's important to realize that it's not a test. There's nothing that you can do wrong. You can't fail your personality, really. The instrument gives practical results you can use. So again, focusing on all the different contexts you can use it. You can use it in teamwork, in communication, decision making. Those are only a few. Just even in your personal life, it's really amazing to see how your own relationships with people close to you or with friends, with family, how the dynamics work when you realize what your personality type is. Then users of the MBTI instrument, most Fortune 100 companies are using it. Again, this makes you feel like, yes, it's something you can trust. If it's being used in so many companies, then it really has value. Okay, like I said, it was developed by mother Catherine Briggs and her daughter Isabel Myers-Briggs, and their strong focus was on Carl Jung's theory, purely. What did Jung's theory say? Well, he basically believed that personality is innate. So how you're born, that's how you are. But then also, a very important determining factor is the environment. Although you are what you are, we are every day conflicted with our environmental demands. Being it family, the country that we live in, education, you can think of so many other factors. Okay, another analogy that we use is using your dominant foot. When I ask you to step into a room confidently, you'll use your dominant foot. Does not mean you're going to hop on that same foot all the way to the front. The other foot will follow, and that's exactly also what it is about. Your natural way of doing will always be first, but the other foot needs to follow. So when we look, for instance, at extroversion, introversion, the one will be more natural, but the other one will also still be there. So we're going to look at the 4 dichotomies now, and this is actually the start of the process of being assessed. When you are assessed, you are first asked to give your natural type, or what you think your type is. After that, you do the assessment, and you see what your reported type is. You then see how the two link, or agrees or disagrees, and throughout life you form your true type. So let's look at the first dichotomy, we call it. It's on the extroversion-introversion scale. The definition is exactly where you get your energy from. So extroverts get their energy from being with other people, with being surrounded by lots of people, by talking, bouncing ideas, and just interacting. While introverts get their energy from reflecting, from thinking, and rather more the introspective types of activities. And there's no right or wrong way of being. That also does not mean that an introvert can't do an extrovert's work. Someone that's highly introverted can present and can talk to a lot of people, network all day, At the end of the day, he will just know that he needs to reflect and be calm, recharge his batteries by doing the stuff that he likes. Typical words or key words associated with extroversion, introversion then, things like action, outward people with extroversion, interaction, many people. So this is the graph you can draw if you'd like on a piece of paper. Usually we ask people to, on that sliding scale, to indicate where they think they fall. Where do you feel comfortable on the scale from very clear extroverted to very clear introverted? Okay, the second one being sensing and intuition. That has to do, the definition has to do with how you take information in. Every day, wherever we go, we take information in. When you walk into a room, the first thing you do is you take the information in. And you do it on either of these two ways. The sensing way being the more structured, step-by-step way of analyzing things. On the intuitive side, it's more the big picture thinkers. So they rather walk into a room and just see, oh, this is the lecturing room. There's probably going to be a presentation now. You know, what will happen after that, or what will the reason be for this? While the sensing type person might come in and say, oh yes, this is the MBTI talk, it'll be 40 minutes long, this is the reason for it, there'll be 31 students, something like that. This is really just an example. Then typical words associated with that dichotomy on the sensing side, like I said, it's more the facts, more realistic, specific, present. Okay, so again, on the sliding scale, we'd ask you where you would place yourself from very clear sensing type to very clear intuitive. Okay, then the third dichotomy is the thinking, feeling type. This is pop psych words you can almost say. We all understand the terms thinking and feeling. And that is to do with how we make decisions. So now we've taken that information in and now we have to process it and make a decision. So how do we do it? It's either in the thinking way, being a bit stepping closer to the, stepping further away from the situation, taking a more objective look at the situation and then deciding, you know, looking what is my options here objectively. Where the feeling type person would rather step more towards the situation and make a decision with their hearts. So again, typical words, thinking, being thinking with your head, taking a more distant look at the situation, and more packing out the things of what you're dealing with. Feeling type, more thinking with their hearts. It's a more personal decision that they make. More people orientated, subjective, like to give praise. Okay, so again, the same sliding scale where you'd be from very clear thinking to very clear feeling type. Then the last scale, the last dichotomy, it's about your lifestyle. This is the judging and perceiving scale. The whole scale has to do with, like I said, with your lifestyle. How do you like to organize your lifestyle? Judging on that side is a much more structured way. And the word judging comes from the idea that they like to make decisions. On the perceiving side, however, we call them the 7-Elevens. They're always open for new ideas. It appears also that they're not really working. It's people who are open for more information. They like to take a lot of information in. Some key words associated with judging and perceiving. It's organized on the judging side, like to make decisions. They like the control. Think about now, what's going to be now or not later. So perceiving is more flexible. They like gathering of information. They also like the experience more than just, you know, it's all about the journey there than just doing the task. So again, lastly, on the fourth dichotomy, where would you place yourself from very clear on the judging side to very clear perceiving? Okay, so when you combine your type then, or your 4 letters, you will get to the combined type, either like a ESTJ, ENFP, you know, you combine your 4-letter types. That's how you get your 4 letters. And basically, one of these 16 types will be what you said your preference is. So this does not mean that you are, for instance, a ESFP and that is what you are. That is it just helps us to make sense of how you make decisions, how you take information in, etc. We also use the analogy of a house or a 16-room house. If you are, for instance, an ENTJ, this is your room, this is where you feel comfortable, but you will, throughout the day, walk through all these different rooms. Now, maybe not everything of all the rooms, but you will be shaped by environment to be different. But at the end of the day, you'll go back to your room where you feel most comfortable. And this is very valuable to do with organizations. When you set up a type chart, that's what we call it, like this, and you literally write each person in the team's name down where they fall. And you see, oh, okay, so because my manager is an ESTJ, likes structure, likes to share his ideas, and I am perhaps an ISFJ, the introversion, extroversion, that's why we don't communicate as often. Or often, like I said, with the J and the P. Oh, because my manager is so structured and I'm not, maybe that's why we don't really sit around the same fire sometimes. So it's still very important to know that type, like I mentioned at the beginning, does not measure intelligence, maturity, emotions, IQ, development, stress, trauma, or emotional health. It's none of those. It's not a diagnostic tool. Also, when a person receives feedback on the MBTI, you'll never tell them that one scale is too low. You have to go and develop it. Where you fall is your preference. Even if you like to fall right in the middle of an extroversion, introversion, or whatever dichotomy, that is your preference. Then the question, are you right in your job? And the MBTI is used in career coaching quite often. If you'd like more information on that, you're also welcome to speak to Notandi. She does a lot of career coaching work with the MBTI and the students. And then you look at, according to your personality preference, does the work tasks that you are involved with and the working environment, does it suit your personality type? And this can be really valuable. Basically, they look at columns like these, based on research done by people, for instance, with ST, so that's the sensing and thinking type people now. They were found to be very successful in these, for instance, areas. And you can make sense out of it. I mean, the sensing type people like detail, they like looking at the facts, and thinking also very logical. So it makes sense that people, for instance, in the banking environment would be more ST preference. The same, there's this SF, another example. So it's the sensing type, detailed people, but more with a feeling touch to it. For instance, teaching, supervision, religious services, these things make sense now. NFs, so the big picture feeling type people. We understand why things like religious services again, or healthcare, art and music, you know, being very open and artistic would be linked to that. Lastly, the NTs, so the intuitive thinkers, things like law, management, it makes sense too, because they're thinking big of the future, the intuitive, but also still in a logical, structured way. So these are just some examples. We have a lot of resources available to aid you more in this. So should you work with someone and you have his personality type, then it is possible to see that which work environment and which work tasks should this person be most comfortable in. Then coming to a close, what Isabel Myers, what her aim was with the MBTI, was basically to become aware of differences, acknowledging the value of differences, practicing new behaviors, seeking out others with differences, and incorporating different perspectives into your own processes. Okay, and that's my story. If you have any more questions or want more information on it, like I said, Notandi Magotla, she's the manager here at the Career Services Center at USB, so you're welcome to contact her.